Guys, welcome back to another one of our caravan reno videos. So we've had a lot of work done on the van. You can see we had wood rot everywhere. The good news is the floor itself was in good nick. It was just in the corners mostly and around the window frame. So we had to pull out a lot of the internal structure and get back pretty much to the skin in order to find all the leaks. And we then had to treat everything. Now the interesting thing, as you can see in this photo, was that after we started pulling stuff off, I had to mark down where all of the leaks were. We ended up having to take windows out in order that we could deal with all of the leaks. But the good thing about that allowed us to add better frame structure and other things as we went along. So there was leaks around every single window frame, and there was little corner pieces of wood. There was also all wood rotted down right down to the framework in the corners, as you can see here. But getting back to the metal allowed us to actually treat the metal as well, which was really, really good. Now we had to put some braces in, which you can see here, in order that it wouldn't escape. And we had to peel back the skin in some of the parts to get in underneath the van. And we were able to clean off the rust in those areas at the same time. But generally speaking, underneath the van was in pretty good nick, given that it's a 1985 Windsor. So it wasn't too bad, but we managed to find all of the wood rot, and underneath the van I got to crawl around with the kill rust here and paint all of the metal framework to get rid of any of the rust, and that was a really challenging option to get in underneath the van and kill off those and deal with all that rust, so that we could then put the van back together again with all new wooden frames. Now the metal structure underneath the van was in good condition, so there was no problems with getting into and underneath that. When we started to replace the walls, we went for Tassie oak, because it's more longevity, and so we had to make all new pieces, joists, bit by bit. There was a lot of work. We also made the wood a little bit fatter so it would be stronger, because we wanted to, when we rebuild, which you'll get to see in later episodes, we wanted to add more cupboard space, more storage. So this bit here, the outside's actually for the external rear lights, and so they threaded the wiring through, but allowed by having that bracket there for us to actually start adding cupboards into spots where we didn't have cupboards before. And we added extra joists suitable to support the wiring, so getting all new wiring added in. We decided with the front of the van, because there wasn't much leakage that we could find, that for the moment we were going to leave it the way it was, but the rest of the van was having its walls ripped off. You can see where the fridge was, and we added a whole stack of new both 12 volt and 240 wiring into the van. Had a professional come and do that. Now this is what that area looked like beforehand, and behind was the wood rot, the spiders. It was shocking behind the range hood when we got back down to the frame. Now because we had to replace the range hood because it didn't work, the range hood which we bought, which I've got a picture from the website, its area behind it wasn't the round shape I just showed you. It was actually square, so we had to do a fair bit of adapting to make it fit better into the space. But it was 12 volt, but I wanted to keep this cupboard at the top, the shelving. I tried to keep as much of the original, but you can see there how we redesigned that area for the hole to suit the new range hood design. And then using, interestingly enough, just one of those old white plastic chopping boards. We cut out a frame to raise the vent up a bit. Then we decided while underneath that we were going to put a new hatch in. So we built the wooden structure to put the hatch in, and then folded back the skin in order that it would sit nicely into the space and stop leaking. So you can see here that we've got that all ready to go. Now we wanted the external hatch because when we took the stove out, we wanted a way to use the space that had been useless under the stove that the stove was sitting on for storage, for things that we wanted to get at from outside the van. So you can see here we've got this wonderful hatch now that was a great investment. And when I open it up in a minute, you'll get to see how we adapted the storage on the inside. So you can see we built a framework there, and so we opened up access to put in things like the electrical cable, jacks, all the tools that we would need. And then we decided, because we were putting batteries and solar in, that we put another hatch on this side for easy access to that area where the wiring and the solar was. And the batteries. Now with the walls, because they were unusual shapes, it was a real challenge. Now we used 3mm ply to actually make the walls. Now you can imagine how flimsy that is, because of the fact it's so thin, and cutting out all these unusual and bizarre shapes was very interesting and challenging. Now to stop us getting more wood rot, we also coated all the wood with a mold resistant product before we painted it. Then when we started to install it, we used lots of different kinds of sealants, but we also marked the walls with where all the beams were, where the wiring had gone through, before we started using the nail gun and stapling everything in place. The last thing you want to do is staple through your wires and not staple through the wood. So that actually worked out quite nicely. Now we put joins in places just to make it more easy to install, and then we backfilled all those joins with a flexible sealant. So next time in our episode, you'll start to see us putting together all of the furniture that goes in once we've got the windows back inside. So stay tuned to the channel, guys, and we'll catch you later on.